If you're going to choose to go into business, choose something you do for free. I'm not saying do it for free, but if you wouldn't do it for free, in my mind, in my opinion, you're not passionate enough. And I think that, yeah, you've got to make a living, we've all got to live, we've all got to eat, we get nothing for free, obviously in return. But it's really important that if you're going to go in business, at least in my opinion, love what you do. Love what you do.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I'm so excited to bring you our special guest today, Jimmy Petruzzi. But before I introduce you to him, I have a quote for you. Joan Baez said, hypothetical questions get hypothetical answers. The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions so we all get the insights, inspiration and ideas to apply in our businesses. Jimmy, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Good evening, Neil. Ready to rock and roll. Let's bring it on.
Thanks for coming on the show, Jimmy. Jimmy Petruzzi is a world-renowned hypnotherapist, NLP trainer, award-winning coach, best-selling author, presenter, award-winning speaker, and a developer of cognitive reprogramming. He is a world-renowned performance coach and NLP, CBT and hypnotherapy expert. For over 20 years, he has worked and continues to work around the world with many top businesses, entrepreneurs, corporations, professional football teams, and individuals at national and international levels in the English Premiership and worldwide. He also works with international and Olympic athletes, top professional sports people, and is a consultant to sports organisations, businesses and associations, helping them achieve peak performance in all aspects of their lives. Over the last 20 years, Jim has worked with thousands of people worldwide, and he is a sought-after and highly regarded speaker for conferences and seminars internationally. He is the best-selling author of several books, including Excel at Business, Essential NLP and Coaching Skills for Business Success, and he has also written Excel at Sports, Be the Best at Sports, Business and Life with NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Jimmy, can you provide us with some more insights into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, there's never a dull moment, Neil. I work in the field of coaching and therapy. I deliver training. I do one-to-one work in therapy and coaching as well. And we do in-house training courses. I go out and do courses for different organizations. And I use various techniques and strategies from NLP, Neuro-Linguistic programming models, right through to therapeutic models in CBT. And I do also one-to-one work with people, therapy and coaching. So there's never really a dull moment. I do a lot of traveling, deliver a lot of courses. People come to us and we go out to them as well. So it's quite variable and versatile.
Uh-huh. So you talked about NLP. How do businesses use NLP? Is that something that businesses use?
Yeah, it's a good question. NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and for Neuro-Linguistic, you could look at it as a model of communication where you model people that achieve excellence and you learn from people who achieve excellence and elicit some of their strategies and then use the same techniques and strategies yourself. That's in a nutshell. Obviously, with time. So the things we tend to do is helping organizations with communication, understanding the market, creating a vision, setting goals, emotional intelligence, awareness, productivity, motivation, confidence. It's such a broad area and the skills are very transferable. So we tend to work on the key areas we tend to work on is emotional intelligence, resilience, focus, and confidence. Really getting people to work on themselves rather than focus purely on, say, KPIs, key performance indicators. We also get them to focus on self. I truly believe, Neil, that if you've got your game head on, you function to your best, and you're focused, you're going to deliver the goods, really. So all these things are important, like KPIs, but also I think what's really important too is going into work, have your game head on, and function at your best day in, day out. Mm-hmm. And that's where we deploy the skills, really, in those areas.
So the type of training that you do, is that aimed at managers and salespeople? Would I be right in assuming that?
Yeah, very much so. We deal with salespeople, with managers, directors of companies, anyone in any position, really. We can all do with a bit of motivation and confidence from time to time. But it's not just about going in there and beating your chest and standing on, getting all motivated and focused. It's about having a strategy and being focused. So you have the motivational aspect, but also what you do for long-term effect is techniques and tools to stay focused and have a strategy in place. Because a lot of people go to these motivational seminars, they get on a buzz, they go on that high, but that wears off. And what we do is give people tools and techniques to keep going and make sure that they go in every day at 100% focused and increased productivity. And obviously increased productivity means increased profit. And that's the key to what we do.
Mm-hmm. You also talked about CBT. What is CBT?
CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a therapeutic models. There are various interventions and techniques and strategies. In a nutshell, it's a therapeutic model, yet there are some key models within that, within CBT that I can use, because a lot of the time my approach to helping people and working with people is about dealing with the individual. So I removed the label. For me, it's not about being a salesperson, director of company, not about being a manager. It's about being a human being and functioning at your best, really. So I use CBT to help people with issues around anxiety, with issues around mood and mindset. And I use a model which, if people want to email me, I can email them the model. It's called the ABC model. And it's people's interpretation of the events, really. Because the most important person you communicate with is yourself. And the key to using the CBT model and the ABC model is that three people can all experience the same event and they all react differently. It's a matter of perspective, really, and belief has a key factor in that. And, for example, if people are under a lot of pressure, there's a deadline, one can thrive, one can be neutral, one can be really, really panicky and anxious. So it's not a question of ability, it's a question of managing their mindset, their anxiety, and their approach to the situation. So what I do a lot of is with different organizations, with individuals, is deal with them as people rather than just a label, and really get to know the person, make sure they function at their best, which is key. That's obviously only in a nutshell, but obviously if people want to email and know more about that, then I'm more than happy to email you, or they can email me and they can see a little bit more detail of how you tie therapy in. Not to say that you're the resident therapist in an organization, but you sort of can make that crossover interimly to make sure people function at their best. If someone has a major issue from a therapeutic point of view, then I would refer to clinical help. And obviously each case is based on formulation, but there's a lot of mileage to get out of things like CBT to help people function at their best at an optimum state, really.
So you can change people's belief systems and things like that. Is that effectively what you can do?
Well, it's possible, Neil. It's not always easy because beliefs can be pretty deep and very intrinsic, and they can be there for a long time and have a big impact. But through experience that you can, through guided discovery, through experience, you can perceive an event differently. So the pressure people have these days, we can perceive it differently through creating experiences. And we can do that by doing various techniques. We can do that by doing role play, by doing behavioral experiments, exposure. We can do that by doing different things, really, to help people function at their best and interpret events, change perspective, change your world. The classic analogies in terms of belief and belief change is I always demonstrate how quick we can have a belief. And there's two things I'll sort of point to, Neil. One thing is, let's say, for example, someone's got an interview tomorrow morning, and the interview's at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they set the alarm clock at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready, get dressed, and compose themselves and focus. If the alarm clock doesn't go off, they get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's an hour drive, they rush around, they spill coffee all over their suit, there's an hour to go, they get stuck in a traffic jam. What do you think their belief might be of the interview or the actual day itself?
Well, they're not going to think it's going to go very well, are they?
Precisely. So it doesn't take a lot for someone to alter their whole perception of a certain event. And believe it just takes a moment of turbulence in the plane to alter beliefs about flying. And the same applies in any belief, really. There is that myth beliefs take a long time to change, and they can do. The person's got to want to change, but we can, through discovery, through giving people experiential learning, alter that framework, and we can sort of move to more productivity. The key thing is, for me, is not to push people too far outside their comfort zone. Take baby steps towards where they want to go, and strategy, and generally they will get there.
Mm-hmm. What do you enjoy most about what you do, Jimmy?
I enjoy working with people. I love connecting with people. I feel very privileged to be doing, I wouldn't even call it work. I love what I'm doing so much. I enjoy seeing people achieve their goals, results. I enjoy the feedback. I get an email from someone across the other side of the world saying, Jim, you really helped with my business. I turned it around. I really enjoy the feedback of the training courses I do. I get a buzz. I'm a people person. I love being around people. I like seeing people do really, really well. I love to see people do really, really well. And if I can contribute in a small way to helping people, then it's job done. There's no ego. I don't think I do it for them. But if I can share some of my experiences and some of the things I've learned, then I get a buzz out of that. And I'm really grateful to do what I do, really. I think there's a great buzz intrinsically to help people. It's a great buzz to be able to help someone achieve their goals.
And what is it that drives you?
I'm driven internally. One of the things that for me is I've always been a passionate person. I've always been someone who's enjoyed helping people. I've always had that inner drive. I really enjoy seeing people do well. For me, my experience in life, my upbringing, the challenges I had growing up, and all the things that have shaped my reality, all the things that have shaped the way I see the world and my own experiences. I was an athlete, and I tried my best to get to the highest level, and I did get to a high level. But for injury, I had to cut things short, and I went to sport. I worked at the highest level in sport, in coaching, and in football at the highest level in coaching. I really enjoyed doing that. I left the game of football to do what I do now, and it wasn't a financial reason because I was well looked after in the game of football, and I grew up with a poor upbringing, and for me, leaving the game of football into the unknown was a big step. But I felt that in my mind, my biggest motivation, Neil, was I didn't want to live for 70 years. I want to live for 1 billion years, metaphorically speaking. I want to make an impact in the world and then in the universe, really. So my motivation to make a difference in the world. And I started off with working with young people. I really wanted to help young people. I had a very challenging upbringing. My goal was to help young people in schools, in care homes. I wanted to help them turn their life around in secure unit. And from doing that and getting good results in that environment, I expanded to what I do now in business, and I went back into sport, and I work as a consultant in sport too. So I'm quite versatile, and that brings a lot of joy and satisfaction in my working life balance.
And how do you relax when you're not working in your business?
How do I relax? Well, that's a really good question, really. I'm one of the sort of people where if I relax for too long, I start getting itchy feet. Sometimes the danger is, because I love what I do so much, I don't see it as work, and I can easily just drift along, and it doesn't always make for a good personal life because obviously family is really important. Family is really important to me. It's the most important thing to me. I relax. I relax with my family. I spend time with the kids. We go out, walk in country walks, have Sunday lunch, go to the beach, and just do all the things that anyone else does. I love watching film, music, all those different things, really. I really enjoy. I enjoy going to events. I enjoy seeing seminars as well. I enjoy going to different organizations like Toastmasters. So I really enjoy getting out there, meeting new people as well. So there's not really one way, but I really enjoy having downtime, going for that country walk, having a lunch, and just escaping the world every now and again bodes well for just letting all things go and grounding myself back to reality again.
Do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
I do indeed. There's several of them. I'd say Tony Robbins, role model, what he achieved. Tony Robbins, motivational speaker, what he did and how he went about doing it. I've been to his seminars a few times. Michael Gerber, his book, The E-Myth, really changed the way I looked at things. And the reason I mentioned Michael Gerber is because whilst I probably shouldn't be plugging other people's books, I should plug my own, The E-Myth really helped in my life because when I went into business for the first time, I just come outside the working in football, and I was a great coach, good performance coach. I'd won a lot of stuff in the game of football. I'd achieved a lot of things in football as a coach, and I felt that it was going to be straightforward. And I was a good therapist too. I'd done a lot of training. I got one-to-one results, which was great. And I thought being a good therapist would be enough, being a good coach would be enough. But then I found myself within a year of doing what I did, nearly on the brink of bankruptcy. I thought, what am I doing? It's like I'm getting great results, but the books aren't balancing. And I had issues with cash flow, issues with, and I was doing everything but coaching and therapy. I was doing website stuff. I was doing the cleaning. I was doing health and safety. I was doing so many things, and I got swamped, and I felt like I was burning out, and I thought, I can't do it anymore. And I felt that I was going to go back into work. I thought I'll take a job back in football, or I'll just take a job for another coaching organization. I'll just do the work. But I thought I'd gone so far, I may as well just keep going. And I came across the E-Myth, and it made me realize that you've got to be able to run as a business. And whilst to a certain extent, I'm a big part of the business, and people, you know, they pay their money to come and see me at seminars and the books and everything else, I've also managed to delegate really, really well too. And I've worked out that you've got to have the discipline to delegate. And what I learned from the E-Myth is that you can't be all things to all people, and you can't be the business completely, or you don't have a business. So that really taught me a lot, really. So he was a role model. Robert Kiyosaki, another one. I've read his stuff too, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I don't agree with all the things that these people say and write, but I do see him as key people. Richard Branson, another one. Alan Sugar as well. Like I said, I don't agree with everything that they say, but I think all of them can help, and they create value, and they're good to learn. And I've read a lot of their books and seen some of their seminars, and you learn from everyone, really. So, yeah, there's too many to name one.
So you talked about the E-Myth being quite influential there, and from what you described to me there, you sounded like I think he described the person like you as the technician in the E-Myth, someone who's enjoyed what they're doing, and they've gone out and set up a business, and then they've discovered that there's all these other things you've got to do that don't allow you to do what you're doing. Would you say that's a fair analysis of that?
Yes, it was indeed. And within a year of setting up the business, I was doing everything but what my vision was. And my vision was to write books, do more radio stuff, get out there and do more one-to-one work, get out there and do more coaching, deliver more training. And then I found myself in a position where within a year, I was chasing invoices that weren't being paid, and these are from big organizations as well too. So anyone starting in business, be mindful that you've got to make sure that you keep on top of that. Cash flow is king. If the money isn't coming in, you've got to balance the books. I hired staff. I had to pay them as well. It was pretty tough. The family as well, and that was tough too, putting bread on the table as you do. And whilst I love what I was doing, I found myself within a year writing legislation, writing different policies, and doing paperwork, and doing cleaning, and doing website stuff. And I found myself filtering out more and more what I signed up to do. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I've left a fantastic career in football as a coach I love doing and had passion for, because I wanted to reach more people and help more people. Now I'm doing anything but. And it really is so important you find good people. Good people aren't always easy to find, by the way. They're not easy to find. Yet in saying that, I believe everyone comes into your life for a purpose. And the key thing is to sort of be very clear, be open-minded, go out there, meet people, and get people around you that you can work with and trade skills. And it's really important if you start a business or in business to have a good network of people around you to do the things that aren't your strengths as well. You can't be good at all things, and you've got to stick to your strength. And my strength was in coaching, getting results. My strength was in therapy, getting results. Yet in saying that, I found myself doing more and more of the things I wasn't really enjoying, that other people enjoy doing. They really weren't what I enjoyed doing. And it's so important that it's good to have knowledge in different areas. It's good to have knowledge in how to do basic website stuff. It's good to have knowledge in to do, policies and procedures. So we've got to have that knowledge, yet the danger is you immerse yourself in that and you don't do what you signed up to do. And that was the key. Being a great technician is one thing, but managing a business is something completely different as well. So it's really important to get good leadership skills as well.
Jimmy, what I'd like to do now is talk to you about the time before you were an entrepreneur. What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started your business?
The difficulties were cash flow. I'll be honest on that front. It's cash flow. It's very challenging to get the books to balance, and that's the challenge for me, or for me anyway. And one of the issues I had was my perception of money. Because I love what I was doing so much, I love helping people, I felt almost like, I wouldn't say guilty, but I felt that, what do I charge? How do I get the money in? I almost felt that I love what I do so much. Should I be paid for it? And we all got to put bread on the table. We all got to eat, and money is important, makes the world go around. It's crucial. And that for me is the key thing. Example around that is, I remember on one occasion, Neil, this is an example for you. I had I wasn't a client, so to speak. I worked in football, and in football I've met a lot of people, and I've made friends with many, many people. There was a young lad he was making his way in the game, he was playing high level of football, doing really well for himself, and he gave me a call one day and said, Jim, I've got a few problems I'd like to talk to you about. It's affecting my form. I said, yeah, fine. We'll go for a coffee, as you do. And I'd spent, a coffee turned into, say, 5 or 6 hours, and then an hour here, an hour there. I'd say I'd spent a good 30, 40 hours with this young lad, which was fine because I enjoyed helping him, but I felt almost guilty because I'd known him in the capacity of being a coach in the football club. I didn't charge him anything. Mm-hmm. And I felt he's a guy making thousands of pounds a week, and me slowly struggling to make ends meet with this business, I didn't charge. And I felt this can't go on for too much longer. And that's the sort of trap I fell into, Neil. That's one example of many. And I realized soon that cash flow is important. You create value in people's lives, and the value I created in that person's life, who knows? He'd gone on to get form and get a new contract and do really well. So put a value in what you do. Put a value in what you do. Really, it's so important that you do that in business. And that's a challenge, I think, for me anyway, in my opinion. Cash flow is key. Other challenges as well, obviously, that, come into it, learning new stuff, the digital age. I come from an era where I wasn't really schooled in digital stuff and in social media. I've had to adapt. That was a challenge. I like meeting people face to face. I'm old school in that way. I like to meet people. I like to be on the shop floor, the ground floor. But I've realized that social media has a place as well. You've got to manage it. It's a good way to announce events, to provide people with resources too. So I learned how to do that as well. I learned extensively because it's a really important part of business. And the key thing for me, Neil, these days is the life cycle of business is key. These days, unlike years ago, because of the internet, because of technology, because of the fast-paced society that we live in, the life cycle of business is a lot quicker. Years ago, the life cycle, you could have an idea, you could get it out there, and you could literally work or dine on it for a long time. Now, things move so fast. You've got an idea, capitalist society, people do what you're doing, and the key is to keep evolving, keep the business fresh, keep vitality, and that's the key. You look at companies like Woolworths. I obviously don't know a lot of what went wrong there, but 100 years in business, they went bust. You look at Kodak, they went bust. You look at the banking institutions in America, some of them went nearly bust. I don't know the full story there. But many organizations, you can see from the outside looking in my opinion, they don't change the life cycle. And I think the key for anyone in business, keep the vitality going, keep fresh, give value added, keep focused, be innovative, move to the times really, because this day and age, you've got an idea, someone will do it, and they'll do it equally, if not better. You've got to keep moving forward and keep things fresh.
Yeah. And did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
I went for it. I really believed I could achieve success. I really did. I had no doubts whatsoever because I really believed in myself as a coach, as a therapist. I'd done years of training. I'd been in the highest level of sport. I'd been an athlete at the highest level. So with all that in mind, I was certain I could do it. There was absolutely no doubt that I could do it. The only issue I had was probably a year or two when cash flow wasn't balancing. I thought, this is a different ball game. I'm outside the comfort zone I've been in the sense where you get a wage every month, or whenever you get that wage. I felt that was an issue I had to look into and make sure I got on top of. But I did that, and that's how I ended up writing the book, Excel at Business. I reflected on my learnings that I had no doubts. It was like a bullet in a china shop, but within a short period of time, or a year or so, I realized that there were things I didn't know. Call it naive, call it confidence, call it what you will. It was a massive learning experience. And I wrote a book off the back of that, and hopefully it adds value to people's lives. It's my subjective experience and objective experiences. I learned that being a good technician is one thing, good practitioner is one thing, but you've got to be also have understanding of business too.
And what mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
Well, they were more like learning experiences to me. At the time, upon reflection, I felt that looking back on things, I don't like to give anyone advice, everyone's on their own journey, but looking back on things, the key for me would be cash flow, just be very clear, get clear terms and make sure that I had a better policy in place to make sure that invoicing, make sure that we're kept on top of that. That was one learning experience as well. I would say that with hindsight, it's always easy. It's always a learning experience, that's for sure. Along the way, you meet people. Some people you meet, they talk a good game, they don't deliver the goods. For example, someone promises to do a website in a certain time, it doesn't get done, you need it, you got to launch, people promise you certain things, and the old saying, promises, and that's the key really. But, in time you meet good people. I've got good people now, I've got a great team on board now, across the board, from doing web, doing social media, doing all sorts of things. But I would say along the way, it's more trial and error really. You meet people, you hire people, you do affiliations with people. Some people work really, really well. Some people, gel together. Some people don't keep to their word. That's just life. That's just business. Nothing personal, really. But looking back on things, with hindsight, it's easy, Neil. But I guess looking back on things, I think the key to anyone going into business is be very clear, have a vision, have an idea, believe in yourself, back yourself. I think these days the hardest thing is that in business, most people have the conventional way of doing things, the business plan. Whilst that's useful, these days you don't have a lot of time to sit down and put all that together. You just got to go out there, have a vision, and go for it. Yeah, it's important to plan, and I do plan as well, but I think too many people spend too much time planning. By the time they put the plan out there or executed it, the chance is gone. So sometimes you've got to go for it. Go for it, make the mistake, learn, and then go again.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you did before you started your business that'd be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
So the first things I did, I sat down, I identified the market, the audience, I did a SWOT analysis, our strengths, our weaknesses, I researched the market, I did a lot of market research, I had a good action plan, I had all the tools and techniques to sort of execute the plan as well. I went out to a few networking groups, some were good, some weren't so good. I'd gone out there and hit the ground running and did a lot of talks and offered people an opportunity to see what I was doing. Did free events. I'd offered some free stuff so they can try before they buy. So there's some of the key things I did really. I'd made sure that my goal was, and what I would say to anyone, my goal was to have a ballpark figure in mind of what I wanted to make before I left the work I was doing to a certain extent. That didn't really work out the way I wanted to, because working in football, you require a lot of time and energy, and I didn't have a lot of time to think clearly about the business. So I had to pretty much give my all to the club I was working at. Upon leaving, I'd save some money up, and I had a plan in place in terms of what I wanted to earn, at what stage, at what point. But I would say to anyone going forward, before you leave a job, before you leave any organization that is bringing you in slipstream income, is have an idea in mind, because there's nothing worse than being under pressure financially. So I would always say to anyone, save a ballpark figure that'll keep you going for a while, or for as long as you feel necessary, and then you can build around that as well. I don't really think it's a good idea to just jump in head first. Whilst if you've got a good idea, you go for it, fair enough, but unless you've got an income coming in from the vision you've got, it's not always a good idea to just go for it, because in the end what happens is you've got pressure. There's nothing worse than financial pressure. So I would say save up a certain amount of money and have an idea of how long it'll keep you going, and then plan from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice, that, because when you've got financial pressure, it makes you make decisions that might not be the right decisions sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you end up doing stuff that defy why you go into business. You end up taking tenders and jobs that, well, I had a colleague of mine I was coaching, and he went into it head first, basically. He was fed up with the job he was working in. Sometimes we don't appreciate what we have till it's gone, and he'd gone off and done some consultancy work, and he felt that working in business was easy. He'd have more time with family and all that, really, and sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you end up working a lot more in business. You've got to love what you do. And in a short time where he took a tender that was well below his worth, in the sense that when you calculated what he was making, the time that he was putting into the organisation, it was almost like minimum wage, even less than that. This is a true professional who was very well educated, was very experienced in business, but because he got desperate, he got exploited, really. And in the end, he had to see the tender out, reevaluate where to do, and he did that. And from there, he could just kick on. But he ended up in a situation where he doing 12 hours a day, near enough, and getting paid next to nothing, really. So there is that danger that you end up getting exploited. And that's not a good thing, and that defies why you do what you do, really. So I would tell anyone, just you get some breathing space, make sure that you have some clarity in your mind, and make sure that you do what you love doing. You got passion for what you do as well.
Yeah. Jimmy, what I'd like to do now is talk about the entrepreneurial journey a little bit more with you. Do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
I think it is. Neil. I think you've got to have, in my mind anyway, a winning culture. I've always advocated a winning culture. The model I use is, I use a model that I call HPI, and that stands for Human Performance Indicators. What I say I want from the staff I work with and the staff around me is we put KPIs to one side, we look at HPIs, and they're intrinsic factors. And I call them Human Performance Indicators. What I mean by that, you go into your work on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being high, enthusiasm. I want you at 8 out of 10. Every day, go in there. People say 10 out of 10, but 10 out of 10 is idealistic. I think that 10 out of 10 is idealistic in the world we live in. It's not always easy, but we can all go in and manage that. So I look for people to be enthusiastic. The other thing I look at as well is passion for what you do. That's another key intrinsic indicator. Also, a love for customer. And what I mean by that is appreciating your customer and making sure every call you take, every email you send, every conversation you have, every customer you've got is go in there and truly have a passion to create value in their life, because in the end they've got choice these days. And what I do and what I never take for granted is the people who buy from me. I want to help them achieve what they want and make sure that even when we have a bad day, put our game head on. So these are key things that I look at as well as other things like being motivated, being focused. They're the intrinsic factors I look at, and that's the culture I want in an organization. I want an organization that has a culture that we intrinsically manage our emotions, that we're focused, we're enthusiastic about what we do, we love what we do, we want to create value, and we truly want to make a difference in the world. So I truly believe that start as you mean to go on. And that's why I say to people, if you're going to choose to go into business, choose something you do for free. I'm not saying do it for free, but if you wouldn't do it for free, in my mind, in my opinion, you're not passionate enough. And I think that, you've got to make a living, we've all got to live, we've all got to eat, we get nothing for free, obviously in return. But it's really important that if you're going to go in business, at least in my opinion, love what you do. Mm-hmm. Love what you do, because you'll never do a day selling in your life.
Mm-hmm. So how do you ensure that the culture that you want in your business actually happens or it exists?
Well, prevention is better than cure. Get the right people on board for interviews, through psychometric testing, for conversation. So prevention is better than cure. Yet he's saying that we all have off days. We all have bad days. I have bad days. People say to me, Jim, you always seem positive and focused. No, nothing other than true. I have days where I don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning. I'm like anybody else, but I just don't stay there. I realize life is precious. It's short. So hiring is key. Who you hire is key. But we can all appreciate that people that we do hire have bad days. And that's why it's important to be there for each other. To be there. I'm there for people. People are there for me as well. So I think it's really important in the culture and we support each other as well. We're all going to have bad days. We all have things going on in our life, personally, professionally. We all have bad things happen. We all have, and I think it's really important to give people time out, freshen up, spend time with family, spend time with friends, do stuff, culture, team building stuff as well. So we can appreciate everyone's going to have a bad day, but we can also appreciate that we've got to put our game head on. We've got to go out there and not take our own issues on other people as well. People have got their own problems too, and that's what's really important for me. So I think that the key is prevention is better than cure, but also provide people with that human touch, provide people with stuff like time away from business, have team building. I think it's really important to build a good environment, to have a good environment. I think it's really important in the environment to have people that people can go to people. If you need help, go see that person, have a conversation and create a winning team, do team bonding, team building, give people time away from the organization, and take genuine care in your staff as well. Generally care for your staff. They're your strongest asset.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of people about this question now, and I get a mixed bag of answers to this. But one of my guests, Casey Eberhardt, said that often businesses will hire on skills and fire on attitude. And what I found when I've talked to a number of people is that there seems to be this common thread with a lot of people who have this culture thing locked in their head, that you have to establish that the values of the person that you employ align with your values and your business. My question to you is, obviously you do all your NLP stuff and everything. if someone employs someone whose values don't align, is there any way of actually changing that, or is it something that can't be changed?
Well, that's a great point. That's a really, really good point. And I think that values is the buzzword these days. A lot of organizations are using them in their culture. They're putting them out there on their website. They talk about their values. They talk about what their values mean to them. And values are quite deep. They're very intrinsic. Values are very intrinsic, and they're very context dependent too. What your values are in your personal life might be different in your work life, and what your values are in your health might be different to your values in a different area of your life. So it's really important to take note that values are context dependent. It's very important to note that they're very intrinsic, they're very deep as well. They carry a lot of emotion with them too. If you violate someone's value, then you're going to have an impact on somebody, that's for sure. Yeah, you can list someone's values through various interview skills. You can talk to people. The easiest way to list someone's value in a nutshell for me is ask them what's important to them in that context. So if they're looking for a new career, what's important in that career? And then that gives you an elicitation of what drives them, what their drivers are. The values are your drivers, and for the most part, your top two values in any context will be your key drivers, but they are context dependent. They are different areas. And I think it's really important for managers and leaders to know their staff values too, in terms of what drives them, what motivates them. And also different roles are important as well. No two roles are the same. So you've got sales staff, they want different values to, say, customer service staff as well. So it's all relative for me and all key for me. But I think that sometimes too much is made of that. I think, do we really want to change people's values? Yeah, we can change when we choose to. It's not easy to change because they're quite deep. And they're very, very deep, and there's no real black and white, Neil. There's a lot of grey areas too. But what I would say, one thing to remember too, that the label we use for that value. Now, I'll give you an example. I was doing some work for an organization, and they had in their core values, they had 5 core values. I won't name who they are through confidentiality, but they have 5 core values that they sort of hung on their wall. And I'm delivering staff training to an organization, and we had a conversation of hiring on values, and the senior staff members said it was imperative. It's imperative, Jim, that we hire on values. And I said, okay, so you hire on values. What are your company's values? And they pointed towards the board they had the values on. And one of the values, to give you an example, was integrity. And I said, okay, you've got integrity as a value. You hire on integrity. Now, what I'm going to do is an exercise. I'm going to ask you all to write down what integrity means to you. And they all wrote it down. And when I asked them to tell me what it meant to them, no two people had the same meaning for that word, integrity. Now, words are labels, an expression of communication on a surface level of what's going on a much deeper level. So the danger is sometimes that we get hung up on a lot of these things, really. For me, the biggest indicator of any pattern is behavior. You can say what you want, and most people can say what they want, and they can do pretty much. It's pretty straightforward. What I tend to do more of is do exercises that people tend to display behavior. And I think behavior is a key indicator for me in terms of how they align to a value. For example, someone could say that it's really important to them to serve other people, but then you go to a store, you know, those self-checkout stores you get these days in all the high street stores, and if they say it's important to help people, but then you're stuck on a checkout and you can't seem to make, you can't seem to process the item, if they've got their back turned to you and they're avoiding you and they're not attending to you, that's a conflict really of what they're saying. And I think for me, behavior is really important, doing exercises to assess behavior and also looking what people did in the past, because that's a good indicator of the future. So in our grey area, really, I think it's really important to hire an attitude. Attitude's contagious, I always say. Is yours worth catching? And these things are really important. But the moral of the story is, like I've said before, in any organization, different people have got different interpretations to what that value could be. And I think there's a criteria that goes with all values. And on a final point, these values and beliefs for me, to sort of illustrate how powerful they can be and how deep they can be and how there's no real black and white all the time. If I had a scenario, Neil, I've got a scenario for you, and anyone listening, think about this scenario. And this sort of ties in with all these values and beliefs. Think of a scenario. If there was £100,000 allocated in a certain town, whatever town that might be it Manchester, be it London, or be it New York, or be it wherever in the world, you've got £100,000 in that city or that town, and you've got 3 people who need life-saving surgery. Only one can get the money. You've got a single parent, 30-year-old, she's got 2 kids, you've got an 18-year-old lad with his future ahead of him, you've got a 65-year-old gentleman who's just retired, looking forward to retirement. Now, there's only so much money in the pot, and only one can get it, and you've got to vote for a person. And I put this to you listening out there, who would you vote for? Who would you vote for? I know it's a very contentious point, but who would people vote for, Neil? And the whole point I'm trying to make by that, if you voted, for example, the single parent, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Neil. If you voted for the single parent, for example, and you're out there, now I could make a point of why you should vote for somebody else, but let me not do that for now. So you cast your vote for the single parent. Would you change your mind if the young lad was your son or your brother? Would you change your mind if the elderly gentleman was your dad? Would you change your mind if you vote for one person? See, things aren't always cut and dry. And I always say to people that sometimes we see things through rose-tinted glasses. I always think what's really important for us in organisation, understand people, understand what motivates people, understand what they want in life, connect with people, which is key, if that makes sense, really. So the reason I use that analogy, that situation, was to illustrate that people, things aren't always cut and dry. And values carry a lot of emotion, beliefs as well. We see in front of rose-tinted glasses. It's really important for anyone in an organisation. The key thing for me is to become aware and connect with people and understand people, understand why they are where they are, and have compassion too. It's really important to have some sort of compassion as well. No one goes out to make mistakes. I think it's really important sometimes to have compassion with people and nurture people and provide an environment for people to grow.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve?
Yeah, definitely. There's many things that I've learned along the way. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Hindsight is wonderful. And I spent many hours doing a lot of things that, looking back on it now, didn't really contribute towards the vision of where we wanted to go. And that's just life. Many things, meetings, unproductive meetings, going to unproductive networking events, getting involved in and with business with certain people that just, there was no connection. Many things, learning about what I mentioned earlier, the cash flow stuff. So there are many things. Yet in saying that, I believe through experience we have learning, and life is life. I wouldn't be where I am today, I don't think, if it wasn't for those situations. And what I do a lot of is I write a lot of articles and write books and share those experiences, because I think sharing experience is great. We can learn from that. But I truly believe that experiencing things ourselves is key too, because it becomes more closer to us when we have the experience ourselves.
Yeah. And how much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
I use my intuition a lot in therapy and coaching as well. I think it's we don't use it enough in the world that we live in. I think our mainstream education is in need of an overhaul. We do a lot of logical training, a lot of logical education. No disrespect to teachers, I do a great job. I'm teaching myself. But I truly believe that we don't talk about the other, intuition really being a key thing. And I think creativity is key. Intuition is key. I truly believe that using intuition is a key part. And I think sometimes, more often than not, trust your instinct, trust your intuition. Not to the point that obviously we're going to go around and start labeling people and making assumptions, because it's always really important to talk to people and learn about people. But I truly believe intuition, for the most part, is our strongest sense. And I truly believe that trust your intuition. It's there, and it's a sense that is untapped, and there's a hidden resource that we have.
Jimmy, life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. And many people say the only constant in life is change. How do you try to keep up with change?
Well, Neil, as human beings, we hypothesize over many things. One of the great things about human beings, we have a part of the brain. We have a part of the brain that can make rational and logical judgment, which is fantastic. And also we have a linguistic way of expressing ourselves, which is unique to us as human beings. What we also have is a primal brain. And a primal brain is very much instinctive. It's very reactive to fear and threats. And merging the two together isn't always an easy thing to do. in the sense that we live in a world that's very chronically agitated to creating threat. Now, evolutionary, if we believe in evolution or not, all those years ago we had dinosaurs roaming the earth, we had tribes, we had our dangers were different to what they are now. We've not evolved in that sense. We still react the same way we used to react all those years ago to different threats. Not the threats we had back then, but we've got new threats now, not paying bills, not having money. And I mentioned before the hypothesis of what if. And we do that a lot, which is good to a certain point because we are, as a human species, from a technological point of view, from many points of view, we come up with a lot of great ideas, but also creates a lot of problems as well. And what I do a lot as well is meditation. I practice living in the now, which is key. Now, people say living in the now, isn't that not defying, setting goals, being motivated? The best chance you've got of achieving a goal is being present in the now. So I do a lot of work on that. I go for walks, I listen to music, I meditate, and I sort of tend to focus on the now a lot as well. Because the danger is really, if we're in a state of negativity and we end up in a situation where we're constantly on edge and have that anxiety, we're not in a good place to make good decisions. So I really think it's really important to get good sleep, to be relaxed, to be focused, and obviously with time, I don't have a great deal of time to go into too much detail, but I think it's really important to be very emotionally aware. And I think any business for me, what's crucial is to work on strategies to develop the part of the brain that can make rational, logical decisions, but also soothe the part of the brain that makes those emotional, impulsive decisions as well. And the danger with, and the trick is with that, is that it's very impulsive. We have an impulsive part of the brain that is very reactive. And another quick example, if I may, I know time is of the essence. Let's say, for example, you were to go to 10 stores. It's Christmas time. You go to 10 different stores to buy a product. Of those 10 stores, 9 of them are wonderful. They are really helpful. They really help you. They can't do enough for you. They provide you with a cup of tea and they help you as much as they can. Wonderful salespeople. Then you go to one store, and that one store, they're very abrupt. They shortchange you. They're very negative. They're very abrupt towards you. When you get home, who's the first store, or who do you think you'll mention to your partner or to your wife or to your husband? Who's the first person do you think someone would mention in that situation?
Well, it's going to be the bad experience, isn't it?
Precisely, because as human beings, we react to threat. It's primal. So training people to also reflect on great things and training people to realize there's many good things happening in the world. And that's the reason why newspapers and the news are very negative, because they know that people respond more to fear than positivity. There's a lot of good things in the world. The world's a great place. There's many good people as well. I'm not making light of the threats that we face. They're out there, that's for sure. But I really think it's important for people to, and we can train people to adapt to this modern world that we tend to struggle with. The modern world that we're in, it's a new world of uncertainty as well. And I think it's really important to develop a culture where people are adaptive to this, the world that we live in these days.
Mm-hmm. But obviously there are different people have different tolerance to change, don't they?
Very much so, and that's probably a balance of genetic disposition and also life experiences, upbringing. It's like a perfect storm. We're all different in different situations, and that's why people who tend to do really well in an organisation, the ones who've got high emotional intelligence. Academic intelligence is important. It's important to be academic to a point, but you can be the best academic in the world. If you're not emotionally aware and intelligent, you won't get very far. It's just like, say, God forbid, if anyone's going in for surgery and the surgeon has an argument with their wife or husband the night before, you'd want them to be emotionally intelligent as well as academic, and probably more so emotionally intelligent, because that's the key in going over the line. And of course, different people have got different dispositions, and also it's a perfect storm. Different experiences in life leads to where we are. We can all improve. How much we improve is anybody's guess, but there's no reason why we can't at least develop a plan to improve. And the better place you are mentally, the better chance you've got of succeeding in business.
What is your favourite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
My favourite book, Neil, would be Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. I really enjoyed reading that. If I had to have a favorite book, there's many books I really enjoyed and have enjoyed reading. I've read The E-Myth, Michael Gerber. I've read many books. I've probably read 1,000 books, if not even more. But the one really that sort of turned me around, or I wouldn't say it turned my life around, but the one I sort of took and used techniques to move things forward where I was in my own life, I would say Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power, if I recall that the title being correct. I think it was a really, really great book. It really was different to any other book in its genre when it was released, and it was quite user-friendly, practical, you could apply it, easy to understand, and for me it made a big impact in my life, personally and professionally too.
Thanks for that. Everyone, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer for you, the free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. Jimmy, what I'd like to do you now is speculate about the future a little bit.
Yeah.
What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
In business, Neil, one of my beliefs is you need constant strategic innovation. You can't stand still. You need to improve and create more value. Products need to go forward. And I think it's really important in business to have an X factor for your company. What makes your company stand out? For many years, we've heard about unique selling points. I think these days, with the way things are in the world, we need to be on top of our game. We need an X factor. What makes our company great? What are we great at? We need to find ways that we can add value beyond anyone can ever imagine. We want to create loyal clients. We want to take our business to a level that surprises people, that they get so much value. And for me, in my mind, one of my visions is to help as many people as I can across the world. I tour the world doing seminars, as well as helping people in the world of business and sport. I have a passion for helping people who are young and making their way in the world. And for me, what I'd love to do, a passion of mine would be to introduce emotional intelligence or mindfulness or some sort of platform for young people in schools and colleges to take their life to a new level. I also believe in schools the curriculum is slightly outdated. No disrespect to teachers, I do a great job. I've been a teacher myself, but I really believe that we should be teaching kids entrepreneurship as well and teaching them how to manage their mindset and develop a positive mindset. So for me, the vision would be just to really expand on where we are now and reach as many people as possible and make a mark in the world.
And what skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
For me, it would be strategic marketing. I think marketing is key. You could have the best product in the world, and you could be the best in the world at what you do. I think what's really important is to be great at marketing. I know many great coaches, therapists. They're fantastic at what they do. There's no doubt about that. It's how they market themselves that sometimes lets them down. I think the key for me, for anyone, and certainly for me and anybody else, is how you promote yourself. What is it about you? What's your story? What makes you different? Why choose you? And for me, getting the right marketing strategy is key. And these days, the challenge is, with an ever-growing and fast-paced economy, is making sure you keep evolving and you keep fresh, you keep the vitality. So I really think a world-class marketing strategy is key.
In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
I'd like to carry on with getting more and more raving fans and clients, as we say, in the field of business. I really want to make a mark in the world. I want to put a dent in the universe, so to speak, in the sense that I want to make a difference. And in 5 years, in 10 years, there's nothing more I enjoy than when I get an email from someone, say, in America or Australia or anywhere in the world, saying, you've changed my life, I've done one of your programs and I've gone to the next level, or I bought a program for my son or my daughter and they've gone on to do well in school or in sport. I bought a program for myself and I've gone to do well in business. I really enjoy and I really get a buzz from helping people. And in 5 years, 10 years, however long I'm doing what I'm doing, the next 50 years, who knows? As long as I'm doing what I'm doing, I love what I'm doing, I'd like an article to talk about how we've made a difference in the world. For me, one of our number one values in our business is making a true difference. We really want to make a difference and help people take their life to a new level. Life is not easy. The world we live in these days isn't easy at all, and it's more and more challenging. And I think it's really important to do what we can to help people get the best out of themselves, really. So I'd like the article to focus on the difference we've made.
We're now at the part of the show where you share 3 golden nuggets with us. Jimmy, what is your favourite quote and how have you applied it?
There's many quotes that resonate with me. I wouldn't say there's one in particular that sort of stands out. I tend to focus more on philosophies, Neil, in terms of coaching philosophies, and I have people that I've admired. I admire their work. There's people who I mentioned earlier, the Michael Gerbers, the Tony Robbins, and people like that that have this really good, unique philosophy. And I think that for me, business and business culture and philosophy is key to succeeding. What is your business philosophy? So in regards to ourselves, it's about refining and redevising and reevaluating our philosophy as the world changes. The world's a different place than it used to be. It'll carry on changing. And sometimes it's about sitting down, introspecting, and really being clear about where we are, where we want to be, what we want to do, what's our passion, how we want to help people, and really refining our philosophy. At the moment, we stand for helping people get the best out of themselves in various areas of their life. And with that, we can reevaluate that, new ways to do that, new techniques, new cutting-edge strategies. So it's always learning. So we like to develop ourselves and our staff to stay at the very top end of our field. And we also like to pass that down to our clients, customers, and students.
And do you have any favourite online resources that you could share with us?
Well, we have a number of resources ourselves. I'm always happy to share resources. It's my passion to help people. I have my own little motto, theory, or call it what you will. If I help you get you to where you want to get to, you help me get me where I want to get to, and it's all about win-win. So we certainly have a lot of resources that we share all the time. We develop stuff. I write a lot of stuff. I blog a lot of stuff. And the vision for doing that is just putting a bit back. So I always make the time to write blogs, to write articles, ebooks. I've released several books as well. They're out there in leading retailers, but I also make stuff available for people to get an insight into what we do, and they can decide if it's for them. And if we are for them, great. If not, then there's plenty of people out there that I'm sure can meet the people's needs, really. So in terms of the resources I get and tend to get, I tend to go to a lot of seminars. I tend to watch speakers and listen to audios. And these days it's a lot different to what it used to be like. Years ago when I first started out, you'd have to pay a lot more proportion of your income and travel a lot further to go see someone. These days you can watch YouTube, you can get audios. It's far more accessible. You control the internet and Google. So there's no real specific area that I go find stuff. It's just going on Google, trolling the internet, going to speakers. It's great seeing people live, but it's so much easier these days, I think, because these days you can just, from the comfort of your own home, get on the laptop, go on YouTube, and you can pretty much see anybody. Back in the day, you didn't have that commodity to see anybody. And I used to love seeing speakers like Robbins and the Jim Rohns of this world and the Zig Ziglars and all these people that you have to travel far and wide to go see them. And at that point, young, growing up, it's pretty much a big proportion of your wage. But I knew that these people would create value in my life, and I saw sense in going out and seeing them. But these days, they're more accessible. You can even watch the likes of YouTube and see almost anyone you want, really. Okay, you won't see everything that they do, but at least you get an insight into their world and you can make a decision of where you want to follow it up.
And what is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
It's quite challenging, really, in terms of the way I tend to work is with an entrepreneur is to decide where they are in terms of their own vision, where they'd like to be. What I generally do is do with each business on a individual tailored basis, because no two businesses are the same, different markets, different niche, different diagnostic. But what I would say, what it's worth, if I was going to give any sort of advice, be true to yourself. Know where you really are. Make sure you're honest with yourself, know where you really are, and create an effective business map. So you know where you are, you know where you want to go, and what you do is you take steps in getting there. what I would say to any budding entrepreneur these days, and entrepreneurship should be taught in schools, definitely. These days we need it. The world's a changing place. I would say that the world is moving fast these days. Back in the day, we used to sit down and do a traditional business plan. These days, it's just too time consuming. We need to think differently. Your conventional business plan is useful, but it's also outdated in the sense it takes too much. Really, you've got to think more ideas. You've got to think life cycle of business. You've got to think on your feet. You need more of a map from where you are to where you want to be. You've got to be flexible. You've got to anticipate and capitalize on changes. You've got an idea these days, before you know it, because technology, someone's got the same idea as what you're doing, and they're getting it out there. It's so much different than it used to be. In one sense, we've never been in a better period, really, because we've got so much resources, but it's a level playing field. Everyone else has got the resources too, so it can be quite challenging. So you could be the market leader, but these days you won't stay a market leader for long if you're not innovating and you're not constantly going forward. So you need to adapt to change, conditions that change. You've got to make sure that you're growing your business, looking for ways to grow your business, getting out there, making sure that you're meeting people all the time, networking. It's really important that you've got a good team around you. If you can get people around you that specialize in sales, or you can learn sales as well, if you can be or use your story to inspire people, if you can also reward and inspire other people and get people inspirational on board your business, it'll take you a long way in terms of moving forward. Really important to constantly anticipate. You've got to always think in advance. You've got to live in the now and take steps in the now, but you've also got to think 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, where will the market be? Anticipation is key as well.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, if you didn't manage to get a note of Jimmy's favourite resource or his favourite books, then you can find the links on Jimmy's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Jimmy or Jimmy Petruzzi in the search box. Jimmy, is there anything else that you'd like to add about your business?
Our aim is to go out there and help people go from where they are to where they want to be. I set the business up all those years ago. The vision was, my passion was to help people. I mentioned earlier in the show, I used to work in professional sport. Whilst I was working in professional sport, football, as a coach, I'd been working also freelance as well outside that, doing courses, delivering courses, doing one-to-one sessions. It was always my passion. It's been a long journey in the sense that I started doing all this stuff in my late teens, learning it anyway, and I'd use it for myself in my own sports career, and I'd used it very heavily in my career as a coach in sports too, and I knew one day the vision was to help people on a much bigger scale. And whilst I had a great life in sport and I really enjoyed it, my vision was to fulfillment was to get out there and help people, and predominantly to help young people. As a young person growing up, I grew up in a very poor family. We were bordering homelessness. My mum was ill. My dad got injured and meant I had to go out to work at a young age to help pay the bills. And for that, I felt I grew as a person, but I experienced a lot of pressure that any young person would really struggle with. And I certainly struggled with. I struggled with school. I struggled with working. I struggled with, 14, 15 years of age, working in factory and trying to go to school and trying to compete in sport. It was very demanding and it required a lot of energy. And for me, it was a coach who came into my life who had the NLP background, who had studied in hypnotherapy, and he really helped me a lot overcome my own barriers. I had that, not that there's anything wrong with it, there's some great people who are working class, we're very working class, and I remember working in a factory, Neil. I'd worked in a factory, and it was the most mundane job you could ever imagine. It was literally putting bottle tops on bottles for an oil organization, and I'd be just doing that all day, and there were great people, salt of the earth people. And one day I just had enough, and I said to my friend, my close friend who was working there, I said, I've had enough. I can't do this no more. I had the foreman, so to speak, on my back, say, you're not going fast enough, you're going too slow. And by lunchtime one day I said, you know what, I've had enough, I'm going. And they said, you're crazy. What are you doing? You're leaving a really good job. I said, a good job? I'm going to give a go. I'm going to have a go at doing something else, that's for sure, and see what happens. And I'm going to roll it and study. And they're like, you can't study, Jim. You can barely read and write, because my education wasn't great. I wasn't academic. I would go on to study at uni. I've studied at uni for several years, and I've done many qualifications and many, many courses now. But at that point, my life wasn't academic. I would go on and study eventually. But one of the things that struck me was that the value in education, Neil. the biggest education I had was experience and meeting people who had been there, done that. So whilst I would go into uni eventually, and I went to uni for the first time at 23, they called me a mature age student. I don't know what they'd call me now. The best lessons I learned really was through people who've been there, done that, and offered advice. And that's why I'd go to seminars and learn NLP and learn hypnotherapy, really learn from people, educate myself, put the effort in. And I guess to cut a long story short, that sort of leads us to the question you asked, in the sense that I really want to help people who are in the same situation I was, young people, because sometimes if you give someone a go, you don't know what they're capable of. And for me, I could have fell on the wrong side of the tracks easy enough. There were people, I'm not saying they were bad people or good people, they have their ways, and I could have easily drifted with people that could have led me the wrong way, and I could end up having a different life than what it was now. But I had that talent in sport, and I used it to get out of the situation I was in. I had that talent in sport, and that was pretty much just chance and coincidence. Many young people these days probably don't have the same ability I had in sport, but they've got ability in other areas of their life. And that was my vision, really, going to schools, talk to young people. And I thought, if I can help one person change their life, I've done the job. But since I've been doing what I do, I'm sure I've touched many people in more ways than one. But then in helping young people achieve what they want to achieve, people took note of that in business, in sport. Then I got back into sport as well, and I got into business too, and I help business doing growth and help them take them to where they want to go. So from the point of view of where I am and what we do and what our X factor is to really go the extra mile and generally care about our customers. I see our customers almost like family, really. When they ever buy a product, I really want them to succeed as much as they do. I really care for them, and I know what it's like to be under the pump. I know what it's like to be struggling. I know what it's like to literally live on the street, and it's not a nice place to be. And I think through my experience and my education in life and academically, I'm well placed to help move their life forward. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there, I might not be for them, and I won't lose sleep over that. But I know there's plenty of people out there that are going to get a lot out of me, and long may it continue, really. So from an organizational point of view, where I am, where I want to be, is just continue doing what I do on the biggest scale I possibly can.
Jimmy, it's been an honour having you on the show. You've delivered us so much value. You know, you've talked about the importance of cash flow, HPI, having a vision and believing in yourself, innovating, changing. There's just been so much. The list goes on. You've taught us so much, and you've really provided us some useful insight into the entrepreneur way, and you've inspired us all. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Neil. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have us back on again sometime again.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Jimmy. You're welcome. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you for listening to The Entrepreneur Way. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter @Neil D. Ball.